Okay, guys, this is really serious. I mean, there have been a lot of jokes around, oh yeah, if Naples is being destroyed by a supervolcano, we better stock up on pizza and stuff like this. But guys, really, there's more and more news. Is the supervolcano Campi Flegrei creeping towards an eruption? Or better, let's say they're saying it is creeping towards an eruption. While many might still put their heads in the sands and saying this is fear-mongering, this is not true, guys, in this video, we will listen to the experts, to the Italian experts that have monitored this supervolcano for decades, and what they're saying gives me shivers on my spine, or how you say. So let's start right away with what they have to say. So let's start with Roberto Scandone, because he has said, and I've made a video about this, if I had the resources, I would evacuate right now. And he said that a week before that big earthquake, the 4.4 magnitude earthquake even happened. And that's the biggest earthquake that they had in that area in 40 years. So who is he? Can we take him serious? And yes, guys, I think we should. And he's not the only one who has to say something to the topic. We'll hear about two more people, and what they say is equally as frightening, in my opinion. So he's an esteemed Italian volcanologist, and he's well known for his significant contributions to the study of volcanic activity, particularly in Italy. Well, he's Italian. He's worked for the University of Rome, the INGV, the Italian Institute for Geology and Volcanology, and he's still active there. So he was a professor and is a researcher who worked extensively on understanding the dynamics of volcanic systems, the prediction of eruption, so he knows what he's saying, and of course the mitigation of volcanic hazards. And his work is focusing off the volcanic areas in Italy, including and mainly Campi Flegrei, Mount Vesuvius, and the Aeolian Island. So he often has emphasized the importance of continuous monitoring and the development of effective emergency plans to protect populations living in volcanic regions. And we'll get back to that emergency plan, because there's different opinions between the politicians that are kind of still playing this down and thinking that everything is perfect, and the scientists who actually are saying, guys, it's not working. We'll get into this. So Scandone's research is important and contributed to a better understanding of volcanic processes and the development of strategies to minimize risks associated with these volcanic eruptions. So he has done numerous scientific publications and has left up to date a lasting impact on the field of volcanology, and as well, and here it comes, as well as the safety and preparedness of communities living near these active volcanoes. And he said before the recent earthquake storms even happened, he would evacuate right now. And we're talking, you see it here on the map, an area that's more than 3 million people. The Campi Flegrei volcano stretches about 100 kilometers, so basically everywhere within that red ring here. It could erupt in the Gulf of Pozzuoli, in the water, which causes even more dangerous problems, but basically anywhere where it's densely populated, people are basically living right on the volcano, right in these calderas, on the edges, and even inside. Even the Americans have built an army recreation center in one of these calderas, right? So people did not have an understanding about what is going on. So if this guy says, before the stuff even happened that we've seen here, he would evacuate right now, this tells us something. And then after the earthquakes, there was an interview. He works for the INGV, the Italian Institute of Geology and Volcanology, connected, that's the Vesuvius Observatory as well. They're monitoring Campi Flegrei, so that's his job. And after these earthquakes and after this chaos on the streets of Pozzuoli especially, where the people were running out and they were waiting for help or for someone to tell them what to do, that's why they were so upset going after the civil defense vehicle vehicle that showed up a long time after people started running out on the streets. Nobody was there to assist them. So this volcanologist, Giuseppe Mastro Lorenzo, he gave an interview, and chilling and alarming. I'll just tell you the highlights here again, because I've made a video about this yesterday where you will have the full interview, and it's worth watching. Here's the video. That's how the thumbnail looks. I'll put it in the end screen. But let's have a look at the highlights of what he's saying, because you need to know what these scientists are saying before I tell you what the mayor of Naples has just said in an interview, and it blows your mind. So Giuseppe confirms that Campi Flegrei, and that he always said that, Campi Flegrei is recognized as one of the highest risk zones in the world. It is a potential supervolcano, and it has produced supervolcanic eruptions. He said we must be concerned and always ready for a possible escalation, both in terms of seismic risk, as we saw in the recent days, but also volcanic risks. So he says it out in the open, and therefore he says, I insist on the need for an effective emergency plan that addresses the critical issues of this area from a scientific standpoint, based on my studies on the rapid rise of magma and the causes of the bradysize, and that's the land rise. That's about 2 centimeters per month right now. I can say there is no predictability for these systems. So he says anything can happen at any time. They are chaotic. That's what he's saying. So he says, therefore, we cannot guarantee safety. And the solution is to have a prevention strategy. So he says, for an area like this, we need to have adequate escape routes by land and sea. And he says it is crucial to inform the population about the dangers and conducting drills, evacuation drills. It is crucial. But he says, and this is what's so scary, we must also consider the possibility that we may not be able to predict an escalation of events. So they can't predict it. It can happen, poof, all over a sudden. He says, and listen to this, guys, we might find ourselves in the midst of an eruption without any strategy. Remember that sentence when you hear the mayor of Naples. And he says they need a plan that does not rely on scientific possibilities, hypothetical possibilities that may not really reflect the reality that might really happen. So he says that he has criticized the inadequacy of the current evacuation plans for years based on his scientific research, and it seems that nobody listened to this day. He wants the evacuation plan to be modified urgently and radically. And he says because effective predictions have only been made in 20% of the cases. So you can't make accurate predictions. So that's why you have to be prepared for the worst case. He is saying there could be the big eruption. He's further saying this in his interview. So, and that's mind-breaking to me, because everyone else is only talking about the seismic risk, the risk of these earthquakes, what might happen to the buildings, how they repair the buildings, and blah, 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 blah. But they're not talking about the big picture, and this monstrosity erupting and killing millions of people. I mean, we have to speak it out. That's the fact, that's the truth. And slowly, more and more people are realizing this, that this could be the threat that they're facing right now. And before we hear the mayor, another expert, another geologist, Mario Tozzi, and he also says the risk about Campi Flegrei should have been clear all the time. So he's also criticizing. And he's also talking about the seismic risk, right? Of course, this is important as long as there is no eruption. that there is not that much destruction. And this is important for an evacuation as well, because if all these buildings collapse, like they did in Rome in 2016 when there was an earthquake, you see the pictures here, these old stone buildings, they collapse and they block the roads, making it even harder for people to get out because these roads are so narrow and the buildings are so old. Mario Tozzi is one of the clearest and strongest voices of geology in Italy, so also we should take him serious. And he has never changed his mind about the risks associated with Campi Flegrei. He says the risk is there and it has been known for years. We need to be aware of it. But it seems like for years, officials and politicians have put their head in the sand, or they have not released information to the public to not create a panic. And, you know, we know that a few months ago, scientists were starting to confirm that there is a magma chamber at a depth of only 4 kilometers and not like they thought 7 or 8 kilometers. That makes a difference because then magma doesn't have to go that far to reach the surface. And the officials didn't release it. They didn't inform the municipalities and the mayors and tell them of the risk. And then it leaked out. And then the mayor of Pozzuoli was very upset about this. He said we should have known about this. So there you see what's going on there. You cannot rely on officials that they tell you everything right away, but listen with open ears to what these experts are saying and also read between the lines. So he says they should have been aware of it, and at the same time, not enough has been done to mitigate that risk. So he says there are no escape routes, no decent escape routes. There should have been mass exercises. There should have been awareness and about the culture of risk in an area, you know, that he calls as the most dangerous in Italy for volcanic eruptions. And it seems people don't know. Until the early 2000s, they thought only Vesuvius is the problem. And even just a few days ago in television, the television station said, oh, there have been these massive earthquakes, 4.4, it's Vesuvius that is rumbling. No, it's not Vesuvius. He's dangerous enough, of course, and he's having earthquakes and shows some signs, and he's overdue with an eruption, by the way. But Campi Flegrei is the dangerous monstrosity, more dangerous than Vesuvius. So what Mario is saying, and he's right with this, when he was asked about the current worrying phase of bradyseism and activity at the Campi Flegrei, at the Phlegraean fields. And he says the knowledge of the risk was clear. So all these people that moved there, they should not have come. He says, right in the Campi Flegrei area, in that red circle, more than 500,000 people are at risk. The officials announced now, after these earthquakes that we had last week, that there will be a building stop, no more new building permits in that area, which makes it even harder for people to leave probably because nobody was going to buy your property. So maybe they should offer like a government buyout incentive like they have done at Vesuvius. The direct area, the red zone of Vesuvius, that's roughly 700,000 people, that would, I say, vanish immediately if that thing erupted. They tried to offer them 30,000 euros if they moved away. There were not many takers because how far do you get in Europe or anywhere in the world with 30,000 euros? That's roughly like $45,000, right? Or even less, probably even less with the current exchange rates. But you get the meaning, right? So he says it. The risk was clear. Why did you allow people to settle there and not do the opposite, right? Mario further says that we cannot know the exact reason why there was such a strong shock recently last week at the Campi Flegrei volcano. He says these shocks are a seismic procession that is accompanied by this land rise, by the swelling of the crust of the ground, and it has been swelling up for about 2 centimeters a month. It has accelerated its speed, and he says it is presumable that these tremors will continue, and in this magnitude maybe not too often, but they could exceed these magnitude, and they could even expect a magnitude 5. So what's problematic for the existing buildings, of course, is if they have repeated tremors, that really puts a strain on the buildings and makes them more vulnerable with each event. And now the mayor of Naples, a region with more than 3 million people, what did he say in a recent interview? Gaetano Manfredi. He's worried about the buildings, so he wants seismic upgrades to all the buildings in the area of Campi Flegrei. So he says it'll probably cost 500 to 700 million euros. And he says we will ask to proceed more quickly with the measures provided by the Campi Flegrei decree, especially concerning the vulnerability of private buildings. Resources must be made available for the completion of interventions on public buildings and to support private construction to improve the seismic safety of buildings. And yeah, makes sense. But now he says, the civil protection has a well-established, experienced system, and its coordination needs to be strengthened. Is okay. Is it so well working? Ask the people, ask the residents that went after that one car, the civil protection car that showed up, some say hours after the earthquake. So until then, nobody was there. That's why they were going after this one vehicle so badly, because they were upset. Where have you been, right? So this is in the question. But now, he says something that is concerning to me and shows me that either he doesn't want to realize it, he's basically rejecting the fact that something even worse could happen. Because why would you say that if all the experts are telling you it's not true? So listen to this sentence. He says, well, evacuation plan, ? We already have many. That's what he's saying. The problem is the management of ordinary situations. Let that sink in. So he says, well, evacuation plans, we have many. Yeah, they have many, but the experts are telling you they are not effective. They're not working, and they know that. And they have just a few weeks ago, they said, well, we need to figure out something new because it's not working, right? So he, with a kind of an arrogance, says, well, put that aside. We already have enough of them. We need to focus on the small things. We need to focus on how to seismically upgrade these old buildings. That doesn't help you, my dear, if that monstrosity of a volcano erupts. And in that interview yesterday, we have the experts saying even a small eruption would be devastating for Naples, for the greater Naples area. So not only for that area in the red circle, the roughly 500,000 people that live right on the volcano, for the whole Naples area, but because this is basically one highly densely populated area. So if the mayor doesn't acknowledge what these scientists, and that's only 3 that I named you before we talked about the mayor, it seems he's completely ignoring this. It's like I'm going to a math test and question 1, I make 3 wrong results, and I go on to question 2 and do some minor calculations that don't get me much points in the test, because number 1 gives me the best score, the most score, and then I'm complaining that I have a bad grade to the teacher and say, well, I had many answers in test 1. Yeah, but they were wrong. That's the problem. They were wrong. If everyone tells you it's not working, you should listen. And if you're a follower of my channel, you know that I have made a lot of videos about the Titan submersible incident, I would call it, because it was well known ahead of time. For years, all the worldwide experts warned OceanGate and the CEO Stockton Rush, and they said, you'll end up dead because it's not working. Your material that you're using for that submersible, the carbon fiber hull, will implode. It will not hold. And he could have said the same thing. Yeah, I have many plans for my hull. It's going to work, right? And he said that. He really said that. He said, basically, I built it against every scientific advice. I've broken the rules and I'm proud of it, so to speak, because he thinks he's broken the rules with logic. And how this ended, we know, right? I'll put one of the videos in the end screen. And this is the same thing here with the mayor. It's concerning, and I understand they don't want to create a mass panic, but they need to create a mass awareness, because now there is still time. If the seismic swarm comes, that is the swarm that comes when the magma is moving to the surface. Of course, if the magma needs to grind through the crust, it's followed by earthquakes because the crust is rumbling. But once you realize these earthquakes, it's too late. You will not evacuate more than 3 million people or even the 500,000 people in the red zone in a few hours. You won't. It takes days, even longer. If you follow my channel, in Grindavik in Iceland, it's a town of less than 4,000 people. It took them over an hour to evacuate them. And now only a few people are coming back. Only 30 homes were occupied before the last evacuation, and it still took about an hour to evacuate. The Blue Lagoon in Iceland had to be emergency evacuated 4 times because they're always waiting it out to the last minute when the eruption already started. So there were roughly between 500 to 800 people in that Blue Lagoon, and it took them an hour to evacuate them. So guys, this is what I say. They have to be realistic about this. So this was my update about scientists versus the mayor of Naples, so to speak. We will have to wait and see if there will be greater awareness in the coming weeks, and if they will try to work out something. But, you know, let's be realistic about this. People would need to move away from that area in order to be able to guarantee safety. And as the volcanologist has said, we cannot guarantee safety. So if you want to have safety guaranteed, you need to empty out the whole area. But a supervolcanic eruption of Campi Flegrei will not only affect this area, it will affect Italy, it will affect whole Europe, it will affect the whole world. If you want to know why only 74 days of food left, check out this video in the end screen, guys. I'll leave it up at that. Another update will be out very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Please do me the favor, leave this video a like and pass it on to other people that might be interested in that, and subscribe if you're new here. I'd love to see you again in my next video, guys. So thanks a lot. See you soon. Stay safe, okay? Stay informed, stay safe. Bye-bye.